I'm here.
I
I
was
think
going to say, which
left.
did we say? Oh, okay.
I think this is stage left. I'm not sure. But.
I'll leave that to you. Okay. Hi, everybody.
Wow.
This is a great crowd.
Impressive room.
Welcome. I am going to get this going by asking 5 questions that were taken from all of you, and they're fabulous questions, so I thank you for that. And then I'll ask I'll ask Elisabeth some questions.
Peggy's fine.
She really isn't in marketing. She just
when they
plays a
asked me
marketing
to do
person.
this, the first thing I said was, they know I don't actually work in advertising, right?
But then we will have time, I hope, to open it up for more questions, so feel free to do that. Okay, question 1, you ready?
Yes, let's go.
It's kind of a long one, but it's a great one. Working in advertising has totally changed the way I think about everything, from my work to how I develop and maintain my personal brand. As a female working in Hollywood, brand management seems to be top of mind for so many, and that line of between approachability and lofty star can be somewhat fine. The examples are the love and hate expressed for Jennifer Lawrence and Anne Hathaway. Has playing Peggy caused you to have a similar epiphany about yourself as an actress, about Hollywood and the film industry, and how have you managed to navigate it?
Yeah. I think that's a great example, the Jennifer Lawrence, Anne Hathaway thing. I think I've been doing this for so long, I've been in this business for 20-something years, and I think the biggest thing that you learn is to be yourself. That's the most important thing, I think, and I think that's what people connect with somebody like Jennifer Lawrence. Mm-hmm. She's real, and it's honest, and she is just being herself, and I think that's what people respond to. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to be, or a way that you're approachable and a way that you're not. I think the only kind of wrong thing you can do is be disingenuous,
mm-hmm.
And be, I think people know when you're faking it, mm-hmm. and they know when you're putting on an act, and it's weird because as an actress, I didn't get into it to do press. I didn't get into it to do interviews, it's not like what I love about acting. I love acting, right. But it's such a massive part of this job, and it's completely unavoidable. In the olden days, you used to be able to, stars would never do interviews, and they would, like Lon Chaney never went to premieres, never did interviews, never did anything, because he was in the silent film era, if nobody knows him, and
and you could say no to that.
And he could say no, right. But you can't these days. You can't. I don't have. I'm not on Twitter, and I don't have Facebook.
I was going to ask you about that. Social people.
Yeah, I know.
Because I didn't see you on there.
It's such an anomaly. Like, I'm considered definitely a freak for not.
And why is that?
Because it's so common these days, and it's such a tool for actors to get their name out there, and it's a statistic if you have how many followers you have. And it's not just like Justin Timberlake, it's actresses now. Mm-hmm. And it's just not me. I don't feel like I have anything that interesting to say.
Is that the reason why you're not on it? It's just...
Yeah. I also think that I would get in fights with people.
Uh-oh. Maybe you would say
I get into a lot of Twitter wars.
Oh, interesting.
So I should just avoid it.
Being a little too much of yourself.
Yeah, but it is something that you think about, and every once in a while I go, should I do that? Should I have like a Twitter account and get lots of followers, and is that something that I should be doing to help my career?
Right, that's the question.
Yeah, which is a new thing.
But you don't feel pressure then to do it?
I think it's a personal choice,
But nobody from...
No, I've been talked to about it, but my team is awesome and they don't pressure me to do anything, but it's something that I think is almost unavoidable at this point. So anyways, my point is that I just think that people know when you're being fake. Yes. And so as far as sort of crafting an image, I think you just have to try to be yourself, and that's what people respond to.
And I think that's what people have seen with Jennifer Lawrence tripping up the stairs and handling it.
You see yourself in her. You see, we're all worried about tripping up the stairs, and we're all worried about our dress ripping and swearing when you're not supposed to, and so we identify with that.
Now, do you have to try to protect your privacy, though? I mean, that's the reason I think Anne Hathaway had a lot of haters maybe? I mean, she was out there and putting herself out, and then it became such a big, I don't know, it kind of snowballed. Do you not go on social media because you don't want to get into that? You want to protect yourself?
I mean, I think it's about your attitude towards it. You know, you can protect yourself. There are actresses that are massively famous, and yet people treat them with a certain amount of respect. And I think it goes back to being genuine. It goes back to being somebody that you respect and you don't want to take advantage of, you know?
Right.
And then there's people like the, you know, reality stars and stuff, and that's their job, to get out there and put themselves out there, and so they, you know, don't have as much of a right to privacy as maybe somebody like Meryl Streep would, you know? So for me, the no social media thing, the no Twitter account isn't really a privacy thing. It's literally a matter of, I just don't know what I would say.
Okay. All right, let's move on. This is a little more serious. Less than 3% of women currently hold CEO positions. Much like Peggy, the majority of women are in supporting roles. What steps do you think should be taken in order to increase that percentage in the next decade? I feel like this is Miss America. You know?
I know, right? Totally.
I'm not going to ask you policy questions, I promise.
Jesus, you're right. I mean, if I could answer that question, you know, I think that women, the thing about, and what he actually said is so true, that in the video, the reason why Peggy gets to where she is because she does good work. And that's it. She does good work and she believes in it, and she luckily has somebody who sees it and helps her push it through and gives her a hand in, you know, in Dawn, but she does a good job. And I think that's the strongest hand that women can play, is that they're good and that they have good ideas. And, you know, I went to this event in LA recently for women in film, and the statistics that we heard about women in our industry was just unbelievable. You know, and you think that we've made so much progress, and we have made a lot of progress since the 60s, obviously, but there's still kind of seems like so far to go, you know, and I don't know what it is. I mean, I wish I could answer it. I think that most of the men that I work with and that I meet have a great respect for women and believe in women. So I think that I don't want to say it's the men's fault, you know, because I think that men have great respect for women. And I think that one of the things that we were dealing with on this season was Peggy sort of tries to take on Dawn's role, and she tries to be a boss like Dawn because that's all she's ever known. You know, that's the only boss she's ever had, so she thinks that's what being a boss is. So she kind of tries to be like him, and I had this conversation with Matt Weiner, the creator of the show, about how the reason why Peggy is better is because she's a woman. She is more sensitive. She is more analytical. She does have a perhaps softer way of talking to somebody, a better way of management.
Brings those different qualities.
Exactly, and that's actually what makes her, what will make her a better boss.
Ultimately.
So I think that's, you know, the strengths that women have are those things, and I think that people are still recognizing it and still trying to give them a chance.
That was one of my questions, though, was about show business, and where are women excelling? Where are you seeing, or what did you learn from the report that you just saw, or that you mentioned?
I mean, they're excelling in definitely executive positions, you know. I think there's several sort of studios and companies and film companies and production companies that are run by women now, for those reasons that I just mentioned, and also that they just have really good ideas and are good at their jobs. So, you know, I mean, acting is kind of whatever, like I don't even really count that. It's a whole different thing. When I think about it, I think more of women actually behind the scenes.
Running the studios, directing.
There's always been actresses. Like, we haven't had a problem.
It's
been fine. We don't make as much money, but.
Well, that's an issue, isn't it?
I'm going to address that later.
That's an important one, I
Yes, it is, absolutely.
Okay, number 3, in a pitch to Heinz Ketchup, Peggy reuses Don's pitch from 1964, which is, if you don't like what they're saying, change the conversation, which was a great line. What was the significance of that moment to you, and do you think Peggy has positioned herself as Don's equal in 1968?
I think that she, in a way, is not his equal as far as power yet.
Right.
And I think that but in a way, she has surpassed him as far as.
I see her kind of inching up.
Yeah.
You think okay.
As far as her management ability, as far as her ideas, as far as her way of being able to work with others, I think that she's surpassed him. Yeah, and she doesn't have a massive drinking problem.
Yeah.
She's, there are things that make her better at work.
She's messing around a lot with the season.
Well,
but that's the way.
Gotta
right?
do something to take the edge off. But I think as far as stealing that idea, he would have done the same thing.
Right, of reusing it,
Yeah,
sure.
that's what she.
It's a pretty cutthroat business,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Absolutely, and he would have done the same thing, and that's what he taught her to do, and it's a great line, and why, it's all copying anyway, so why shouldn't she take it?
That's right. And I just like the line, change the conversation.
It's a great line.
Yeah.
It's a great line. Yeah, and she's smart for stealing it,
Now, what would it take for Peggy to land a window office and have a seat in the boardroom? Will she achieve that? Seems she's headed that way. Do you think she is, or?
I hope so. Yeah.
You're grinning from ear to ear. Do you want to tell us something that's going to happen soon?
No. There's only one episode left, so
right.
she'd have to make quite a leap. But, I think that is her story. It's what happened to the women in those days. They moved up, and they became more successful if they didn't decide to leave. And I think that she's really strong. I think she needs to remain strong and focused and not take things personally. And I think that that's a big thing about women in business and in the office, is we tend to, get a reputation for being sensitive. And I think...
and if you're not, you're the B word.
Exactly, which I think is fine. I'm like, what's wrong with being a bitch?
Tough.
But,
but you're so not one, it seems.
Well, I think that it's not about that. It's about, it's that old thing of women. This is becoming a very feminist conversation. Sorry. But I think it's that thing where, women are called a bitch when they're asking to get something done and men aren't.
Right.
So I think for Peggy, she needs to retain her focus, and I think she needs to remember that it's about the idea, and remember that it's about the best campaign that she can come up with, and nothing else. And that's what will get her ahead, because that's what's always gotten her ahead, is having good ideas. She's a really good writer.
There is one question, the next question, this actually segues into that nicely, which I think is so great. Who do you think is more successful in today's marketing world? A Joan who uses her womanly charms to get what she wants, or a Peggy who tries to beat the boys at their own game? Which has been an interesting storyline all along this season.
Yeah.
Joan is moving up too.
Yeah, Joan and Peggy. The thing about Joan is I don't feel like she does that, actually. I don't think that I think that she's a very sexy woman, and I don't think she necessarily, and well, I guess she did use it that
She was
one time.
kind of forced into it.
Right. So yeah, never mind.
She did kind of sleep to get ahead.
She definitely did. Well, anyways. But she didn't want to.
No, she didn't want to.
And that's, it was definitely a sort of sign of the times.
She was definitely resistant. It wasn't her idea.
Yeah. I think that she owns who she is, and she doesn't try to not be sexy. That was the whole question for Peggy for so long, was, from the first season, was, how do I be a woman in a man's world, and does that mean that I can't dress sexy? Does that mean that I'm not supposed to look feminine? And that was a big question at that time, was, and that's why she sort of gained all that weight in the first season, and she didn't know who she was, and she didn't know who she was supposed to be.
Well, and all the secretaries were all dressed.
And so she didn't want to be looked at like that and taken advantage of and hit on, so she kind of went the other way. And she finally, after a few years, I think, has gotten to a place where most women are today. I think where in business where you own yourself and it's okay to dress nice. It's okay to look feminine. It's
Right, right.
You're still going to be taken seriously, even if you look pretty. And I think it's definitely been a sort of massive thing that's changed. So I don't think it's really Joan or Peggy.
That you can be some combination of the two,
yeah,
hopefully.
Combination of the two. I don't think it's either one of them. I don't think that Peggy has to be a man and Joan doesn't have to not be a woman these days.
Because I think you see both in all workplaces. I don't know if you all have. I certainly do. I was thinking about it in my office. There are the Joans and the Peggys, and they're both trying to achieve the same thing, and sometimes you're maybe one, and sometimes you're maybe the other one a little bit more. But.
I mean, obviously, if you're going into a meeting, you're not going to dress, super provocatively if you want to be taken seriously, but that's just smart. Yeah, it's like,
do you find that as an actress, too? Do the same rules apply in your world? Someone else wants to answer for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other thing, it's a different world. Yeah. I think that, but I mean, then again, I think that does kind of apply. If you dress a certain way, you may not be taken as seriously. And it's all part of that, like we talked about at the beginning, that sort of branding and imaging.
Right.
What image you put out there. It's if you go out there dressed, like a Kardashian, you're going to be viewed as a Kardashian. And if that's what you want, then that's great.
Right.
But if it's not, then don't dress like that.
And you can look at any number of stars and see that they're making choices. Miley Cyrus,
Yeah, and changing their images, greatly.
Right.
I mean, the thing that's weird about my business today is I'm not a model. I didn't get into this to be a model. I didn't get into this to be